My name is Kwapniewski and I'm Polish. I came over to UK more than 18 years ago, but I stick to this place at least for 18 years in a row time. And then we are in Stocks Farm, just opposite the hop picking shed, and behind of me we can see the hop yard, which was already done a few days ago. We finished just now the hop picking season. We've got still quite a few bales only to pack up, and then the season would be over, and looking forward for the next one. So this is mainly what we have right now.
What brought you from your home in Poland to this hop farm in rural England?
First time I was invited by my colleague from the university, because at that years when we were studying, they introduced like a program for students, like part exchange. So he had a chance go before me to UK via some organization, and then I was linked to that a year after, and it was a chance to go to UK in the quite difficult time during where we had still, like a separation, East and West countries, things like that. And I just landed not far away from here on a hops farm as well. So it was my first year when I arrived to UK, and I think after 3 or 4 years on the other farm, I met Richard and Mr. Capper by incident while they're revealing apples to do the cider, and then we had a chat, and then basically they introduced their place and asked me if I would be interested to come for next season, and it is how it started. And since that, I just come every year for 18 years, as I said, in a row already.
What do you do here? Can you tell us what you do?
Basically, I went through all the places involved the work on the farm. I started the first year on the floor, we can describe that, hooking the vines on the track. Then later on I was working on the trailer to stack the vines and bring them to the shed. Then obviously I was tractor driver as well, and then later on I eventually was asked to move to the hop picking shed to do the drying.
Well, tell us what you do now. What's your role on the farm now?
Now I'm drying hops basically, which I looking after the hops when it's been brought to the shed, and then it is my role to send into the kilns, set up for a certain time, check it during the process of drying, and eventually get the best moisture I can receive, which we're looking between 10%. Obviously it must be considered with a few points during that time. We're looking also for the transportation, how it's been brought in, but describing the moisture point I've got on mind depends. If you bring the first loads, obviously you need to stay longer with hops in the kiln and then spend more time to dry it. Then later on you're reducing the time, plus the fact I have to consider the weather as well. Is it raining or is it sunny or windy day? So everything matters, but the main point is to get around the target which is 10%, and then finally you make the bales and they are ready to ship to the brewers or anybody who is buying of us.
So you arrived here 18 years ago. What changes have you seen? What did the farm look like then and how it looks like now. Can you tell us if there have been any changes?
Yeah, for the already 8 years I spent on this farm, I've seen changes. Maybe not drastic. There hasn't been changed drastically something, which probably no one likes big changes right away. From the workers' point of view, I can say we have got a pretty good accommodation right now and the facilities to live on during the harvesting season. But looking on the work side description, I would say the first year when I arrived, we were already going quite well with the process we had, but during the time we moved on forward with, I can point one big fact, which is making a bale or making a bags, where in the past time we had old traditional bales, we call it, which they were like a sticked with big sacks, 85 kilograms the weight, where now the weight has been reduced to 60 kilograms, and the process is more or less but fully automatic, which means you go from one box to the second one and it is controlled by the computer, so it's more handy and involve less physical work, where in the past we had to do it by hand. Saying that, there is also a very important point, because to work with a process like we are now, it's more computerized, but you are not involved as much as before, where in the past time doing the job by hand, you have access to see the moisture, or you could mix it much better, where now soon hops is in the hopper, you can actually see what is in. So the steps before must be done really well, avoid any problems like too high moisture, or if it is not enough moisture, then it's obviously some loss because the hops has been over dry.
Did you pick hops in Poland?
No, I never done it in Poland.
Could you just say that? No, I never did pick hops in Poland.
Of course, no, I haven't picked hops in Poland whatsoever. The side of the country when I lived in, there is no hops at all. So the first time I was brought to the hops, it was in UK. Obviously, I have to say thank you very much for the opportunity and some experience I got of it.
But so you came over here 18 years ago, young Polish man. Can you just paint a bit of a picture? What was that like, arriving in the UK from your home in Poland?
Okay, it was a big difference because as a time it was like.
Sorry, can I just ask you?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, that's fine. When I arrived here 18 years ago,
yeah.
I was age something, and
Okay. How old I was then?
you don't have to tell us. You don't want.
When I arrived first time to UK, I was very nice and very pleased what I seen, and then the country I saw. Plus, I have to say I met straight away very friendly people around, so it was a very nice experience for me. And obviously, I met slightly different culture and different mentality as well compared to my homeland, but it was a very positive way I seen it, so I was very pleased, and it is probably why I still keep coming to UK for such a long time.
So that's not changed then, people are still friendly, they're still accepting?
Personally, I got no problem whatsoever. Obviously, time of Brexit came in, and then we hearing lots of stories, and but probably they were already, I would say, It's but the thing is that some points they need to be exposed maybe in these days more than in the past. But to me, nothing changed. Even the Brexit was announced, and I can say that I still got the same people as a friend, friendly people, and then we spend some time together. I can go to the pubs as well.
At the moment, you must have what, like 20 caravans here. How many migrants, workers were there here then?
The first time when I came over, because as I said, I was on the other farm, I had a chance to work along with English students mainly, and then some Australians as well, plus one or two New Zealanders, which was again very nice experience. And later on, for a long time, we kept some relationship and almost friendship. We stayed in touch, which was very nice. But as the time moved on, so it went apart. But it's very time I remember until today, and I'm very pleased with that. But later on, when even myself, I brought my sister once, then my colleagues of university, they've been a few times as well. But I can see in the past time more English people were involved with the job on the farm, where in these days you see mainly foreigners like myself. They are probably again from Eastern countries, more or less, but I can see, at least in this place, mainly from Poland, probably because I introduced them as well, some way off, but also I found that the farm appreciate work we're doing, and then they keep asking and inviting us for next season. And it is probably why most of the staff are from Poland. Plus some, regular people from the farm. We work along together, and then I think we're going and doing quite well.
It's really interesting, that, isn't it? Because the whole makeup of the workforce has changed. Because I remember. So I'm just having a chat now, but
yeah.
You used to be able to go. You went grape picking in France, didn't you? And I've been apple picking and grape picking in New Zealand, but the whole dynamic has changed, hasn't it, in that time?
Yes, indeed. I don't know. Is it something related to opportunity in other jobs, or people just looking for some, I would say, easier jobs rather than hard work on the farm, which I have to point, it is a hard work. It's mainly physical work, but then there are machineries operating around as well, and you need to be switched on, long hours, because in agriculture you've got a certain time to take the crop off the hop yards, or any crop take off in a right period, because if not, it's been lost straight away. So I can say that it's going quite well, and then I can see still, I hope that the Brexit won't change for the future a lot regarding that sort of situation.
I'm interested in the life of somebody like yourself, Jerzy, who leaves your home. How many months a year do you come over here for?
During whole year, I would pick up at most it's 4 months.
So what do you do when you go home?
When I go back, I've got a part-time job, plus I'm a builder as well. So then when I come back, I got a regular job straight away, and I don't have to worry. Obviously, it would be difficult to keep a regular job and then have 4 months during the year off work. So I accommodate that quite well, and it is why the flexibility I got allowed me to come over in a certain time.
Why do you do it?
I think that I like that very much, and I stick to the place. I can see that the farm is looking for me after me, and they looking that I can come back again. And also I have to say it was pointed to me good few times that they appreciate all my work and the work my colleagues done as well. So it is probably why season by season, and then I looking to come. And I think experience I got already, plus people I met. Also some opportunity that to learn something else and see something else, because you could say, oh, it is one place, year is similar to another year, but unfortunately in the agriculture everybody would say a year is different to the past one. You still learning and probably nothing is going to change with that, because everything and so many points matters, and you can almost foresee everything.
But you're not involved in agriculture in Poland?
Not at all.
Are you able to make a comparison between the two ways, the two industries?
Again, it is huge different when I arrived here to UK and in these days, where in the past time Polish agriculture was split for very little patches, I would say, just hectares, few hectares at most, and probably everybody in the village own few hectares their own land, and they were looking after that. Where in these days, again, it's been big change. They've been accumulated, so which means that efficiency came on, because the cost to look after small lands is very high, and it is why people basically sold out. And then today I would say that the industry is quite similar, because the machinery are very similar. Almost what you can see in UK, we've got it same in Poland, and then the lands become like 100 hectares or more, which make really big progress for our agriculture. But probably thanks to people like me, but not personally, but who came over, they got some experience, they've seen how your industry, how your agriculture is doing. Probably they brought something back to Poland and developed. So definitely must be a link with that.
What do you think you bring to the industry here, your experience as being a Polish man? What do you bring? What can we learn from you?
I think I can describe. I do my best, obviously, to show and doing my best to be involved in the work and get a feeling that I'm able to do it. There is some responsibility on me, which obviously I would like to pay back, and I think I have some passion to the job as well, which I try to expose, and probably it is noticed as well, I can say. And I quite a good timekeeper, plus I'm switch on, I could say that, because it's not only one point that I really focus on, only lots of things around. Sometimes I've been called out of one work to fill the gaps wherever necessary. So and what else you can learn from me? I'm quite positive person anyway, and open, proud and friendly. So it is my character probably, and it is why people still want me to come back to UK.
Tell us about when you first arrived and what you felt about the smell.
Yes, the first time when I arrived to this place and we started hop picking, I thought that I won't last long, and the smell for me was awful. But I think during the first season I started changing slightly, unless my nose stick to the smell, and then today, after such a long time, I'm even more feeling see the smell completely different way. As a part of my job, I have to rub the hops by hand. Obviously, the hops is oily, very oily, and the smell now is very intensive, but I see the smell completely different. Some varieties very similar to, they saying, citrus or Christmas trees, sprouts, something like that. So I can also recognize some varieties by smell. It is that sort of point. Obviously, the oily stuff are yellow and they stay on the hands, but as a part of the job, it is probably a good side of the job, because the rest of it, like when my role is, you spend, I wouldn't say in the dark, but the place is under roof, so you don't see much sunshine.
Yeah, tell us about the tractor driving.
Yeah, I was tractor driving for a pretty long time. Very tough job. Some people may think that, oh, it's easy to sit in the cab and drive the tractor, but it's not. First thing, you still drive tractor on the road with a trailer, but the most important thing is you've got 3 guys on the trailer which you drive with them during the hop picking, and then one is on the top of the crow's nest, where he is exposed really high and potential risk of wires or hooks or even fall off, which lucky nothing happened like that to us. And then the wheel is rotating as well, so we have to be really involved. But as a tractor driver, you have to look in the front where you're going to, then you've got the posts between the line which you have to avoid but still pick the hops off this row, plus, as I said, those 3 people. But even so, we have had some funny story I can describe. Once, what I remember it happened, to pick the hops off the hop yards is almost like a long process. You start on the beginning on the row and then you keep going. Obviously, when you have to stop, you do it. But if nothing happened, you just keep going, because the best way to pick the hops is a constant speed instead of on and off. And then we had really good and heavy hops, heavy vines, and a man who was behind the trailer, he slipped off and then he landed on the trailer, on the hops, but no one seen it straight away, so I kept going, and then suddenly in one moment someone noticed that one guy is missing, because he hasn't shouted for any help. He was not looking for us to give him a hand, so we see, where is he? And then obviously we stopped. We laughed about, because we still quickly realized that someone started digging off the hops, and then we saw the hand and eventually his face appeared, but he was covered fully with the hops. So it was something like, he was not injured or nothing happened. He even laughed together with us with that. And similar situation happened later on when we changed the drying system during the emptying baskets. We supposed to stay on the hard floor, but the baskets with the hops are quite heavy, and then you can lose your balance. And again, something like that happened to one of us. He slid into the full hopper full of hops, and then again he was not looking for help and then he did not start digging out of the hops. Two of us, we've seen eventually a hand was coming off the hops. We've seen him actually landed, but we thought that he would be getting out himself first rather than wait until we do it. But again, it was very lucky. It wasn't potential danger for him. It was soft hops, almost like a pillows. So full of hops everywhere in the hair, clothes, but just like a easy story.
So you also do the stringing, don't you?
Yeah, this is a, like we can say, beginning of the process. I come usually mid-March, beginning of March, and then this is why the process of hops starting. The best way it is to do during the say winter-ish period, because you've got no plants whatsoever around the hooks. To do the stringing, basically the string goes from the bottom to the top, and then you've got a hook in the ground, and then a hook on the top on the wire, and then you use a bamboo stick, which we call monkey, with some special pipe on the end where string goes through, and then you've got a ball with a bag or sack or whatever convenience to carry on the ball of string, and then it is almost like one continuous line. You're going from the bottom to the top, then jump to the next one, come back to the bottom, and then all the time around.
Have you ever messed up in the stringing? Got something where it shouldn't be and had to...
It's very easy to do it. Even for regulars, you can miss the hook, or if you forget what you're doing, you can go to the next one or to the second row. It's very easy for experienced men to spot it, say few hooks later on, because you can see, oh, I'm doing something wrong which shouldn't be. So then it's easy to repair it. You can cut it down and then come back and put it right. But yeah, and I've done it many times myself. Maybe not recently, but even so, you have to still think about what you're doing. You can't be switched off and then go on without thinking what you're doing. But it is very easy to, I was saying, over jump and do something like almost like a crossroads, that sort of thing, crosswords.
Hops have been grown at this farm for about 200 years, and Mr. Kappa came here, I think, in 1962. Do you ever get a sense of that longevity, the history here of hops?
I heard some history of this farm and about the hops from Mr. Kappa himself, but yeah, I also heard about that the hops is a plant which can last easy 100 years in the ground, and then basically you looking after it. But even so, I have to say that it is some development with care of hops. I can see myself where in the past time the hops was cut and left until the next season, maybe some fertilizers, or not maybe necessary with fertilizers, but in these days we cut the roots between to get more air, more oxygen, to get a better crop. Obviously it's the water has got a better access as well, and the ground is not as hard, not as tough as without intervention, so it is something to add to that. But as a whole process, besides the diseases, they still come from time to time, or like red spiders or other stuff which you need to control really well. If not, they could spoil the patch really hard. But more or less for those years, the hops is being grown really, like I would describe, classically. So it is one of the things that classic, and if it works, you just help to improve rather than change everything drastically.
Because everything here is mechanised now, and well, I would imagine about the time when Mr. Capper took over the farm, and a few years before, everything was hand-picked and hand-processed, and we'd have travellers and gypsies here and people from Wales. Can you imagine what you do now being done completely by hand?
No, because I can't imagine to do the acreage we have by hands in these days. Obviously, there are still some jobs where they can be done by machinery. They can be done by any, mechanized vehicles. Like vine cutting, which is on the end of the hops, you have to cut by hands. By hands, you've got a hook or sickle, and then you cutting right to the ground. The rest was being left when you cut the vine off. But no, the volume we doing in these days, it could take probably ages. Probably the hops would be overripe straight away or fall down on its own before it would be picked off the vines. But even so, you need to operate with people. You can rely everything on combines or machineries, because I think that the role we having on this farm is still very important, that it must be controlled by people, and I think it's going to last really long.
In that respect then, does it help that most of the team here are Polish?
Yes, it is helpful for this place, and I think also it's appreciated very well. First,
just to go back and say,
yep.
But it is helpful that the team here are all Polish.
Okay, yeah, it is very helpful that the people are from Poland and they are Polish. The communication, at least. Even Poles are picking up English language quite well and quickly. We realize that it is necessary, and I think it is obvious. You are in a foreign country, so it's a normal way that you would like to communicate with people, and then you have to learn their language. But because they are from the part of the country and almost the village where I do live, and then other colleagues, so we know more or less each other. We know characters, we know attitudes, which is helpful as well. And I think the cooperation between us, obviously I can't see any problem to work along with English people or with other nations as well, which we used to do, because first few years we had mainly English people. Then I could see how they were giving up slowly, and eventually we are only with foreigners right now. But no, I would say eventually it is advantage. It is advantage because the communication. But I couldn't see any different if we would have English people as well.
Can you remember during your 18 years here meeting any characters who stand out, or stories that you remember? Did you laugh or made you cry?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I met one man who was a photographer. He said he was very successful with his photography, and I've seen some pictures he's taken, and they were really professionals from my point of view. I was surprised someone like a good photographer was involved in hop picking, but he had to give up for a while from that, what he was telling me. He wanted to have a rest and get a different experience, that sort of thing. So it was strange for me, but we met long ago, but we had a good time together, and even thanks to that I had a chat to talk to him and about the photography, about his experience, what he's done in his life. But for so many years, because it is a seasonal work and you've got uh, 15, 13 people involved in hop picking all of the time. So it's not only a place where you work all of the time, but also a place when you meet other people, and then even if they come from your village and you know them, you think quite well, but because the time you spend here, you're discovering basically different role, different characters, and then some talents of them as well, which you would never see. So I think again something positive about.
March we start to tie, or in April we start to pick. I don't know what you
that'd
do.
be great.
So you can start off like that.
Yeah,
when you're ready.
I would like to describe in a few words our hop season. So we're starting, as I said, in March time with hop stringing, and then it's been carried on for 2 to 3 weeks time, and then obviously we're waiting for the plants to start growing on. Usually by the end of April there is a time to start hop tying, and hop tying, which takes about sort of 4 to 6 weeks time, and then we have a gap. Obviously there is a plenty maintenance going on, like spraying, using fertilizers and looking after the hops, and then we come to the season of picking, which is end of August, and then it takes about sort of 4 to up to 6 weeks times 6 weeks to pick a whole crop, and after that you have the last roll, which is vine cutting, and it involves to cut the left vine on the ground right to the bottom, and the season is over with hop picking.
Can I ask you a question? What do your family and your hometown village think about this whole group of people coming over here to form up to you? What do they think about that?
I think it's quite it is seen quite a positive way.
Could you just start that again?
Oh,
Say,
sorry.
My family.
Oh,
my
yeah.
Village,
Oh, my
yeah.
family, okay. Yeah, my family is not extremely happy with that I have to leave them for 4 months in a row time, but we already calculated very well the time I spend here and the time later on I can spend together with them. So I think it is probably the best option. We are in touch all of the time because thanks to the internet and then technology, so I'm every day on the phone with them. So also I've got one son, one child. He is 15 years old, but every day I spoke to him, so I can almost have every or whole image how he's doing in the school, what he's got or what he's going to do in the afternoon. So it's not that I'm completely off contact with my family, but I think for the village it is also a positive side, very good and very positive side. Even I have some comments from the colleagues and from people. They are basically grateful and thankful, because obviously we have to say, which we didn't point, the fact we come here to earn money. So this is a financial way which supports families and support their budgets really well. Quite often we have couples from the family or brothers and sisters as well. So I think that the earnings they bring in is still very supportive. Obviously, sometimes it's up and down because the currencies, but there is not much we can do about. But however, it is always big support for them.
Yep.
Just tell us about the workers' caravans and
Accommodation.
Yeah.
Okay, the accommodation for us is a very important role in this place, and thanks to agreement with the owners, we've got our own caravans parked on the premises for all of the time, and it is very important for us to have that sort of access and agreement, because you don't have to bring every year the goods with you. You don't have to worry what's going to happen with them, and obviously for those who comes regularly to this place, it's a big advantage. You've got your own stuff, you've got kettles, cookings, all the fans, or whatever necessary to use it, and then season by season you still got them. So I'm very pleased with the opportunity and the chance like that. And most of us, they own the caravans, plus we've got also accommodation provided by the farmer as well, for those who comes just only once or a few times during the season. But yeah, I'm very happy with the accommodation, and obviously it is almost like my private home on this farm as well, and a few others, they stay in their caravans as well. So as I said, it is a good advantage to have some opportunities to use them.
Do you socialise?
Yes, but it is a limited.
Just say we do socialise.
Oh, sorry. Yes, we do socialize on our way, but it is limited to the time you got to do on the work, and then the time you need to be ready for next morning, because the work involves usually 6 days a week. So there's only the best way by the sixth day of work to have an evening off, and then the chances what you have, how we do our meetings in one of the big static caravans, or local pubs as well, like Nelson around here, or even I've been a good few times in Cross Keys, whereas again local famous bar or pub. But and then again I met there some people which I used to work with them long time ago. They are already retired in these days, and then we have a few pints together. We can come back to the time we spent together. Last time I met a person who lives not far away from here, so we still very pleased to see each other. And then obviously, because now we don't see so often, so we are interested in how we're going and their lives, my life as well, my family. So yeah, that sort of way. Sometimes I go only, but it's very rare, 2-3 times a year to do the windsurfing, but it's not during the hops because it's too short time. I need to get like a weekend off, so then this opportunity to be more involved in a social life.